Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mission Employable podcast. My name is Ryan West. I'm your host. We have a great show for you today. We're in studio, so if you're watching this on YouTube, we thank you. We have a growing collection. I think on this one, this will actually be our 15th or 16th video along with the podcast. So we're excited. Thank you for coming in and doing it for us here. Today's show is a continuation of talking about Iowa Workforce Development's new business engagement division. And if you're not familiar, we got a few episodes out before this one, and then a few more after this one as well. So we're really trying to cover the whole scope of what that business engagement initiative is about, and we'll be talking more about that today. Iowa Workforce Development, in conjunction with IowaWorks, or with our IowaWorks offices, is redefining how we are solving our business needs around workforce in the great state of Iowa. On the microphone with us today to discuss this new role in overseeing the business engagement division is Tim Goodwin. Tim brings several connections to Iowa Workforce Development, as well as a unique background, which we'll get into. And that helps and serves businesses in Iowa very well. Tim, thank you for joining us, and welcome to the Mission Employable podcast.
Thank you, Ryan. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. We're happy to have you too. So you do have kind of a unique background. Talk to us, high-level overview of what that is, if you don't mind, and then the million-dollar question, why you wanted to come to Iowa Workforce Development.
I certainly have had many different experiences up to this point. So hit a milestone last year, turned 50 years old, and I doing something different once again, right? So originally went to school to be an educator, to be a teacher, coach. And did that, graduated with a bachelor's degree, and got my teaching degree, and didn't go into teaching right away. Had an opportunity to become a graduate assistant baseball coach at Western Illinois.
Yep.
So I went and got my master's paid for, did that, got the master's in sports administration, and kind of put teaching on hold. I had an opportunity to start an internship with the Boston Celtics.
Very cool.
On the East Coast. Yeah, huge Celtics fan. Larry Bird was my guy growing up. And that turned into a full-time position, and then that parlayed into a position with the New York Knicks. So I was on the East Coast for almost 4 years. Yep. But I'm an outdoorsman. I loved Iowa. I love the Four Seasons. I love the people. Yeah. Right? You hear Governor Reynolds talk Iowa nice. Like it truly does mean something when you live out east. And so kind of wanted to get back home. Decided to get back into teaching. Started teaching in Williamsburg, Iowa. Best 5 years of my life. Was teaching, was coaching, got married, had my daughter. Just wasn't making a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the thing you hear, beginning level teachers. And it's a struggle. It still is a struggle today. And so went back and got another master's in educational administration. Started chasing the money a little bit. Got my first administrative job in Muscatine. But what I knew early on and what I saw early on is it was putting me further away from kids, and I really enjoyed working from kids. So it was that double-edged sword. You're making more money, you're able to have some disposable income, but you're getting further away from why you got into that field in the first place.
For sure.
So, did that for 8 years in Muscatine, got remarried, went back home where I'm from, Burlington originally. Took the administrative job with the Burlington School District, and so in 2015 I just decided to walk away from education altogether. For a myriad of reasons, but I didn't want to be one of those guys that was just what we heard all the time in education is holding on for IPERS, right? Like it's a great tool. I mean, it's the greatest hiring and retention tool for state employees that we have.
For sure.
I probably had 15 years left in my career, and I thought, okay, if I can't see myself doing that, I need to look at doing something else. And so I thought with my background and my education, I thought something would happen pretty quickly. And it really didn't. I wasn't actively pursuing. I thought things would just come, and they didn't necessarily just come. And then I got to meet a guy, a wonderful person, probably the best guy I've ever worked for in Burlington. And we got paired in a golf outing, and I didn't know him. He didn't know me. Couldn't believe I was unemployed by choice. And he owned a trucking company, had about 550 trucks in West Burlington called WW Transport. And he just basically said, why don't you come work for me? I don't know what you're going to do, but I believe in hiring talent, and give me 6 months. And if you tell me I don't know what I'm doing, and I tell you after 6 months, you don't know what you're doing, we'll just make an easy part and be done. And so did that for a couple years, and then got asked to consider running for political office. And so I did after 6 months of saying no, but they're pretty persuasive. Leader Whitfer, in the Iowa Senate is pretty persuasive, and when they have their guys, they go after it. But it was it was a long process to say yeah. It was something that you've got to have your family behind that when you decide you want to do that. And so ran for Senate in 2020, won. beat a senator that had been there for 14 years prior, Tom Courtney, and really enjoyed my time there. And then I became a casualty of the legislative maps. They redo the districts. It wasn't certainly kind to me. My district basically disappeared. I would have inherited a whole new territory, and so it didn't really make sense to move for a part-time job and then put our party in a position of it's just not a good place to be in when you're fighting amongst yourselves. And so was presented with an opportunity to look at this position, and when I did a deep dive into it, I really did vet this agency pretty hard, and I did, because I mean, Director Townsend, I hadn't met her. I certainly knew who she was, and I think the world of her. But I went to some people that I truly trusted, and they said, like, this. If you're going to do this in state government, this is who you want to work for.
Sure. Yeah.
And here we are today.
Well, we're excited to have you on, and that's an eclectic background for sure, and a lot of different things, but a lot of different avenues things we talk about with businesses all the time on those different things. And so, especially on that east side of Iowa, so that's great to have somebody that's got that experience. Talk to us about what you believe Iowa businesses need more of from us, and that's a big question, I realize, but because I want to get your input on what you've heard so far too. We're already picking on you. You've only been here for a month or so. Yeah, but what do you believe, or what did you believe before this, that Iowa businesses need?
Well, they certainly don't need government interference, right?
Yeah, right.
And so we're fighting that all the time. We're supposed to be the subject matter expert, but we're going to go in and tell business what they need. I mean, the easy answer is they need employees. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're hearing. So we're in the middle of, or at the beginning of our 100-day outreach, trying to get to as many employers as we can. They're telling me we need bodies, right? It's a numbers game. We've got low unemployment, 2.6%. The last figures I saw a couple weeks ago. But for every unemployed person, we have, I believe, almost 2 open jobs, right? So most people are looking at it that simple. I think there are still some people that are out there that could have been like me. When I left the education world, I didn't file for unemployment. I didn't show up on any radars. You guys wouldn't have known that I was out there in the market looking for things. And I think there are some other people like that as well. But what I'm hearing from employers is they're needing more, general laborers and CNAs. And when it comes to professional people, they feel like they have a pretty good pool of candidates that they can get. But it's that general labor, that entry level position, especially in manufacturing, and that CNA position, that LPN position, healthcare. And we've seen that. Those are the ones that they're really struggling to get, and we're all kind of fighting for the same people right now. So
what do you do you think there are solutions on that number? This is a tough question, and we were talking about this before, obviously, as well. But how do you think we solve that? How do we get more the numbers game? You told me this the other day. It's just not an easy thing to solve right off the bat.
Right.
What do you think? Have you given that any thought on different unique ways?
I think it'd be very unfair to me personally and to our division to measure success based on unemployment percentage.
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
Like that. So,
agreed.
So that's a metric that, I don't think that we can use. I think, my goal is, within the next 6 months to a year is to have every single business in the state of Iowa have a relationship with somebody from my team, a personal relationship and a connection, because we're finding out right now as we're out there, they may not have been, they may not know who is in their local office. They may not know who their engagement consultant is. And so that's a problem, right? If they don't know who to contact, how would they even know who to come to for the services? And then regardless of what services we provide, they don't even know who to get to. And so you've heard others talk about this. I know, Sherry Barrett was on and talked about being a one-stop shop. It really is as simple as that for us, that we want to streamline our processes and have that vertical alignment to where we have centralized leadership and focus and training coming out of Des Moines, and I look at it as a an extension in your upper body. So we're the arms, and our BECs that are out there across the state are the fingers, and they're the ones that really know what their localized areas need, because what Southeast Iowa, where I'm from currently, what they might need may be different than what Northwest Iowa needs, and so we certainly have to be very fluid. I think this agency, we're standing up the division right now, and we're trying to figure out what it looks like, but I think it's going to be constantly evolving and changing, and I think that's the exciting thing. I mean, that was probably the thing that drew me to this position the most, is being able to to be able to make those changes on a moment's need. Hopefully we don't have to encounter another pandemic like we had, where all the focus went into unemployment insurance claims, but where we can really focus on really leadership type things and having meaningful relations and getting the employers the services that they need and pairing them up, because I still think we've got some really good companies out there that don't know about some of our good programs. And the one that comes to my mind the most is Home Base Iowa, right? Like I'm hearing that from employers right now. They're like, oh, you guys have a program that pairs veterans that come back in the community with employers? Like, I didn't know anything about that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, because I do think there's a disconnect amongst the employers themselves, right? What the CEO or the plant manager may think is available to them is certainly maybe different than the HR assistant, and maybe our team is talking to the HR assistant or HR manager, and I think there's a little bit of a disconnect there as well. And so, my hope is at my level that I can get in and talk with the CEOs and plant managers and let them know that, hey, we've got these services, and I think some of the people in your organization know about them, but maybe we can get you guys on the same page as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. And it is amazing. I mean, HBI has been around almost 10 years now, and we do have employers that ask us. And I think sometimes the disconnect is certainly there, and businesses bring on new people, and they're just not aware of the services.
Right.
So it's that relationship building is really the key, and that's why you're here. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that is what we're trying to do. You kind of touched on this, but I already, with the numbers game, I know that's the math of just not having enough people. Are there some other common things you're hearing from businesses, or is that really the primary thing you think so far? Again, 4 weeks into this,
right? I think that's the big thing, but we're one piece of the pie, right? Like, and without doing a deep dive in, to politics and stuff, but I think there's some policies that the legislature is going to have to look at too to alleviate some of these pressures on these employers.
Right.
What that looks like, I don't know. I mean, the powers that be will figure that out, but I'm certainly open to discussions with them and having employers go to their local, legislative representatives. I mean, it's crazy to think, but I can talk to a lot of business owners who don't even know who their area rep is or who their senator is. So there's that disconnect, right? And it's that way politically, and it's also that way with our agencies too. They just don't know, and there's a lot of tunnel vision. But I think that as the conversations I've had, employers have to have a piece of this puzzle as well, right? Whether that's wages, whether that's flexibility, whether it's remote work. I mean, there are different sectors are wanting and looking at different things. And you're starting to see, I think, employers offer those types of things to recruit and retain. And so one of the questions I always have asked, and I've been on about 15 visits so far, is do you find it harder to recruit or retain? And the answers differ a little bit, right? So prior to the pandemic, it was basically recruiting. Right during the pandemic, certainly recruiting, getting those people in right after, but now it's kind of retaining.
Yeah.
And so,
which we're facing that problem here too,
right,
as well. Yeah.
So it's the grass is greener thing, and so you've got that competition amongst people, and so they're trying to come up with innovative ways, and whether it's 100% matches on 401k. I think the flexible scheduling is the thing that I'm hearing the most of right now, and that doesn't necessarily mean remote work, but being able to, if your hours are 7 to 4:30 and or 7 to 3:30, and you want to be able to come in at 8 so you can get your kids to school because we've got childcare, and I mean there's a lot of pieces to the pie that we need that synergy. We need to be able to work together. If we think our business engagement division thinks that we're going to solve this, we're going to be in for a hurt. I mean, we're going to be disappointed, right? Like, we've got to work with our partners, and we've got to work with our legislature, and we've got to work with, anybody who's willing to work with us, right? Like, this is something that all Iowans need to come together and try to fix, because this workforce shortage is not going away.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. I mean, all agreed, and the reasons why we wanted to put together this business engagement division, excuse me. What are some things you're hoping over the next 12 months? Obviously, building relationships is the biggest one I get. Are there anything else you'd like to kind of throw over the next 12 months? Or is it really just about developing those relationships and what comes out of those?
Certainly relationships. I'm not looking at it in terms of wins and losses per se.
For sure.
I mean, we're going to have metrics. I mean, we're in the process of getting our own data system, right? Like, we've got some data, but we really need meaningful data, and then we need to use that data to drive how this division looks.
Yeah.
And that's something that might be a paradigm shift within the agency a little bit. Everybody wants to say they're data driven, but are we using it to really fundamentally drive what we're doing and what our people are needing. And so that's part of when we're out there talking with this businesses, we're capturing their needs, we're capturing their data, we're tracking it and stuff. So one thing that I think is a great, our mission statement here is serving Iowans, but I was looking for something innovative and creative for my division, and I certainly didn't come up with this, and I steal it because I have a friend who's at Midwest One Bank, but I always look at their mission statement when I walk into the bank, and it says, taking care of our customers and those who should be. Yeah. Like, I can't think of something more fitting for our division here,
sure,
right? Like, we have customers we're taking care of, but we know we've not reached a lot of our customers, and I certainly want to simplify and streamline, but we've got a lot of burdensome processes, and that's the thing that we're going to try to get under our wing and really simplify for the employer. Yeah. We've heard all the people talking, from the governor to director to Sherry, talking about how many programs there are across how many different agencies, right? Like, and we need to find out what's working and what's not. Like, it's great to say that we have all these programs, but if we're not utilizing them, then we probably need to look at getting rid of them and allocating resources to the programs that are really being beneficial and that are helping our employers.
Yeah, and that automation of simplifying the process is at the very top of the list too, in conjunction with what you're doing. Well, great information. Anything else you want to add? I mean, that's a lot there. I mean, the moral of the story is here you're poised to really help businesses and realizing that we can't do it all, obviously, and I do think it's hard to gauging off the unemployment rate. It really isn't fair to this division because it depends on where you're at in the state as well, and also there's just certain things that are going on at certain times. But knowing that the business has a contact with us is key, right? And can call us whenever they want. So great stuff. We're happy to have you on.
Yeah, and me too. I'm excited.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Tim Goodwin, who is the new Business Engagement Division Administrator for the Business Engagement Division here at Iowa Workforce Development in conjunction with our IowaWorks offices. If you need to reach out to that team, you can do so by going to IowaWorkforceDevelopment.gov. At the top, you can schedule some time. We'd love to go out and talk to you all over the state of Iowa. Thanks for making time.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.